Hey everyone, it's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Today we are going to deep dive into productivity and what's holding us back and connecting all the dots between our productivity and what's holding us back from being our most productive selves in life and just achieving our goals, crushing our goals, right? And I couldn't think of a better man to have on the show today to discuss this powerful and important topic, which is you. Here we go. Stay tuned. Stay with us. Here we go. Hey everyone, it's your favorite host, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show, your favorite host. And today I have come into the stage Mr. Daniel. He is the co-founder of his company called Space Makers, which is a productivity consulting group for busy leaders on the go. He also wrote the book, literally wrote the book. His book, Space Maker, is how to unplug, unwind, and think clearly in the digital age. This award-winning bestseller won the Australian Business Book Awards of 2021 in Best Personal Development Book to date. And we are going in, and he's probably on track to win it this year again. He's also a trainer, coach, and keynote speaker. Mr. Daniel has worked with CEOs, executives, and other senior professionals throughout Australia and beyond. And he is here to bless us today in the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. Help me welcome to the stage the incredible Daniel Sih.
Hi, how are you, Marcus? It's good to be on the show.
It's good to have you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Daniel. How are you? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm great. It's a beautiful morning here. I know it's the afternoon or evening where you are.
Yes, sir. It's even though it's evening, the sun has been out all day, but it's been freezing. So absolutely all over the place. But I love it nonetheless. Because I woke up today.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Daniel, sir, your resume is extensive. You have an incredible mind. You could do anything. You literally set your mind to anything. What set you on the path to go down, motivating and encouraging and coaching people to be their most productive selves?
Yeah, so look, I used to be a physiotherapist, or you might call it a physical therapist in the US. And, I treated patients, and then I ended up being a manager in health. And what I found is that in health, you can tell people to exercise and you can tell them to, look after their physical health. But unless somehow you motivate people's heart and help understand where people are coming from in terms of their story and their beliefs, then it's very hard to motivate them to really live a healthy life. And then I found in management and leadership that same principle was really true with productivity, that we need to shift our mindset and our beliefs in order to change the way in which we work. And so I just became really passionate about helping leaders like myself to shift the way they work by changing one small habit at a time. And by changing those tiny habits, you can get your inbox to zero and then somehow organize your life with a to-do list and then have better practices when you wake up in the morning and better practices when you go to bed. And it starts to change the way in which you achieve your goals. And I just got really excited about seeing that in my life. And so I train other people to do the same. So I left being a physical therapist, and I made up this profession, which I didn't know was a profession, called productivity consultant. That was about a decade ago, and I've never looked back. It's been a great journey to learn how to help people with their habits.
I forgot to mention, y'all, he has a heart of gold. Mr. Daniel, thank you for that, and thank you for doing what you do and making up this profession, because it's so necessary, right? Entrepreneurs, that's what we do. We create things that are necessary. Those are the best types of entrepreneurs, and those are the people that do well in life. You coach to this, you mentor to this, you've taught CEOs, executives alike. What is the common theme that you are seeing in your experience that we're lacking focus, we're lacking productivity within ourselves and our lives and our business? What's the common denominator, and how can we fix it?
Yeah. So look, ever since I've done this work and coach leaders and managers and executives, everyone has been busy. We are busy. We run from thing to thing, and there's this sense of distraction, and there's this sense that we're always running behind, and there's not enough buffer or not enough margin in our life to really think and make space and rest, which is why we called our company Space Maker because that idea of having space to just slow down and make really good plans and to have good connections with other people and to rest at a deep level. That space is really precious and people need it. So that's been there for a long time. But I've noticed some stuff that's happened probably in the last 3 to 5 years, particularly in and around the lockdown of COVID. But even before that, I could see the trends happening where there's something about our relationship with digital technology and the fact that we're always online and that we're constantly connected to this phone or to our laptop or a device from the moment we wake up, almost to the moment we go to sleep. There's something about our habits digitally and our relationship with technology that is creating a particular type of distraction where even the small moments where we could pause and just pay attention to the sunrise, sit on the bus and just pay attention to our surroundings, or on the train, or or commuting. The small moments when we're with our children and when we know we really want to give them our attention, but they're distracted with their devices and we're distracted with our devices, we're really losing space, and that lack of space is impacting our heart, it's impacting our health, our happiness, and it's actually digital overuse is impacting our productivity. And this is interesting because we need a new set of skills and a new set of productivity habits to really thrive in the digital age. And I call them the space making habits, which is which is why I wrote this book. I wrote it because I realized that there is a new set of productivity habits that we need, which are about unplugging and unwinding and thinking clearly without a screen so that we can use technology well when we use it. Now, does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, and it begs the question: are we messing up as a society? Are we doing this completely wrong? Is technology in the digital age? Is technology too much? Is it the wrong time? And how do we fix that? You teach to this again, and you mentor to this. When is the right time to incorporate technology? I know you literally wrote the book on this. Can you spill some tea on this?
Yeah. So I think the problem is when we use it too much. I mean, Elon Musk said that we're all cyborgs now. We're half human, we're half man, and he's kind of right. There's a sense where we can do things we could never do before, which is fantastic. I'm communicating with you, and you're on the other side of the world, and we're live right now. So being a cyborg is pretty amazing, right? But there are times where you don't want to be a cyborg. Cyborgs like Darth Vader and the Terminator, they're not great at relationships, are they? They have father issues. Uh, they they struggle with silence and prayer. You don't really see Darth Vader kind of just enjoying the sunrise. But there is something about becoming a cyborg that takes away our humanity. So to answer your question, it's not that technology is bad, and we should use it to its full effect. But there are some things that we cannot do on a screen, and we are losing those things. Look, the book began with this examination about how productivity and technology work, because I was obsessed to try to work out, why is it that some of the executives that I work with are really good at technology, but they're really bad at working. They get the wrong things done. They're frantic. People don't want to follow them because, and they work really hard, and they seem to use technology all the time, but they just seem to use it in the wrong way. And what I discovered is that you need technology to be productive. I mean, that's really clear. If you don't use the internet, if you don't use all the apps and tools available to us, then you're not going to be able to thrive in most businesses nowadays.
A
But there
stone
comes
tablet.
Yeah, exactly. But there comes a point, and imagine an upside down graph or an upside down U, right? Where if you map productivity against technology use, you need it to get productive, but then you plateau and you reach the productive middle where more and more technology and more apps don't make you more productive. But if you keep going, and this is what we see after COVID, you keep spending more and more time online. The first thing you do is to reach for your phone and check Instagram or Google or the news or whatever, or your email. And the last thing you do at night is play Candy Crush or whatever games you want to play. Do you like, if this is the world you live in, you enter this digital overuse curve where the more you use technology, the more unproductive and less happy and less whole you become as a person. You actually achieve less. You're doing more, but you're achieving the meaningless things because your mind loses its capacity to focus and know what really matters most. And you lose the depth of relationships that occur only when you're in person and focusing. You lose your connection with God and with your soul, because the inner life stops leading your outer life and you become an outside in person where you're full of anxiety and worry, and no one can see that, but you're doing stuff rather than coming from a place of peace, because you don't have silence in your life or prayer. So we need to not be a cyborg. We need to unplug to reach that productive middle, so that when we use technology, we use it really well. And we need those skills and habits, which we've always needed. But we also now need a set of very intentional habits to disconnect as a pattern each week, each day, each year, in order to not be a cyborg from time to time and just thrive in this new world.
True. True. When is the best time? I immediately comes to mind is children, our future. I remember receiving a cell phone fairly early in life. When is the introduction of technology appropriate for, your son, your daughter, your future?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. And I'm asked this all the time. I mean, I'm not a parenting expert because I'm a technology expert and a productivity expert. I'm always asked by parents about this. The big question is, when should I get my child their first phone? Obviously, kids get tablets and they start using educational apps or watching videos or streaming stuff at a pretty young age. And that stuff's fairly easy to respond to. Like the Pediatric Society in America, I think, has said no screens at all until the child's 2 years old, which most people don't follow.
Yeah.
And then no more than 1 hour a day until I think they're something like 10 or 12. And again, most people don't follow that, but that's research based. That's about their mental health and their happiness. So we definitely give our kids phones and screens too early then. But in terms of giving them their first device, I would strongly recommend slowing down and avoiding giving children phones in, we call it primary school. I don't know what you call it, before high school, the first kind of 6-8 years of their life in school. But I'd highly recommend that you go slower than their friends, because you're giving your child access to the adult world in a way that they are simply not ready for it. And the power of technology is too strong for them to actually handle, given their mind. And if you look at what happens at the elite level of Silicon Valley, I mean, Steve Jobs didn't give his children an iPad because he said it was bad for them. It was better for them to read and talk about history around the table rather than look at screens. Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google, he has limits on how much he uses his own screens and limits those for family. I know that Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snapchat, only allows his stepson 45 minutes of screen time, I think, a week. So the people who create, I mean, Bill Gates never gave his children a phone until they were 14. So my point is, we are going faster than is safe for our children because of the commercial pressures and the pressures around us to give our kids devices early. I'm not giving my daughter her own phone, until she's 15 years old, which is like very, very late. And yet, I think around 12 years old, with really good limits, meaning that you have parental controls, you have a contract in place, and you limit their Wi-Fi usage so they can't access a whole lot of things that they can access in the adult world. That's probably not a bad cutoff for most people, but it's about a relationship with your children. It's about understanding their personality, their addictive nature or their disciplined nature. Will they respect your boundaries? And just go slower, because they will be a cyborg one day. But why not give them a childhood first? Why not give them a reference point to what life can be like in the real world, where they can learn to create and play and climb trees and do the types of things that make us fully human before they end up being cyborgs? And then they have a place that they can go back to and think, actually, I know what life used to be like, and I want to return to that from time to time as an adult to live my best life. I hope that answer gives enough kind of framework to at least get you thinking.
You got me a lot of thinking. Like, I'm literally sitting here. Like, the beauty of this show is I get to take notes and I get to watch it because I own the show. So I get to enjoy this and I get to take this in. Thank you for breaking that down so delicately. And it's true. It is true. We are. When I read a lot of biographies and personal development books, and a lot of them in the olden days, not in the olden days, but in modern times, you see a lot of things that came about later on until a man or a woman discovered themselves, right? For example, we are now getting married sooner, right? When back then, I read a lot of titans of industry, J.P. Morgan, what was it? John D. Rockefeller, right? All these titans of industry, you notice a trend. They get married later on in life because they're on a path of self-discovery to identify who they are and establish their foothold in the world and begin to leave a mark before they settle down, so to speak. And so that makes it kind of aligns with, introducing your children to technology later on versus earlier on. And that can be challenging, right? But it is, I think you produce, like you said, I think you produce a better quality person. You create a whole person and you give them a vantage point to start with. Great point. I'm gonna call you Dr. Sih.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point, Marcus, because I mean, one of the things I think technology does is that it fills us with other people's ideas, and that's beautiful. Like, imagine how much we learn through podcasts and through scrolling and videos. Like, there's just so much information, but if you want to be a person with wisdom rather than just a person who has information, you need to be able to process that information. It needs to be shaped around a worldview that you are convicted about, so that you can take all those bits of information and somehow massage them so they make sense to your life and your context. And then you need to be able to apply them, so actually live those principles out in a unique way, which is designed the way you're designed. If you spend your whole life hearing other people's ideas and thinking other people's thoughts, but you've never had the time to sit in silence and to be bored and to create your own personality and to have a sense of who you are, you will end up living someone else's script. You'll end up living someone else's life. And I see this in so many of us, that we've spent so much time filling our mind with other people's minds, but not knowing ourselves, that we actually end up doing lots, but not living the life we're meant to live. And part of the passion I have for helping people make space at a young and older age is helping us to examine our inner life, so that we have the conviction to live differently than the world around us, rather than just getting the tattoo that everyone happens to have so we can be an individual. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. And the Gentleman Style Podcast co-host agrees with you as well. We are going to go to a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If you're looking for a reliable professional trucking and logistics service, you've come to the right place. Musa Trucking is a veteran-owned and operated premier transportation provider that can help with all of your trucking and logistics needs. Musa is revolutionizing the trucking industry through strategic partnerships, the development of core personnel, and the use of cutting-edge technology. Our inventory system ensures that cargo ends up divided into the right trucks and reaching the correct destination. Our drivers are dedicated to transporting goods efficiently and safely. Contact us today to get started by visiting the website on the screen or by calling 757-756-5246.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENTSTYLE at manscaped.com.
We are back to the Gentleman Style Podcast show. We have the incredible I'm calling him Dr. Daniel Sih, and space makers extraordinaire. He's teaching us, he's educating us on the relationship between ourselves and being productive, and the connection and the relationship between the digital world, the digital age, and how to be more productive by making time to disconnect. And he literally wrote the book. Can you hold it up for us, Doctor? Wrote the book on
There you are.
making time and making space. Doctor, what can readers expect from this book? What can my audience expect when they purchase their copy?
Yeah, I just love that I suddenly gained a PhD by speaking on your podcast. So this is fantastic. Thanks for calling me doctor. Well, what was the question? I've forgotten now.
The question was, what can my audience expect when they purchase their copy? Where can they find it? And what can they expect when they flip through the book?
Yeah, sure. So look, the book is available everywhere. Amazon, it's available as an audio book where you get to hear me talk for 7 hours on Audible. And obviously you can get it on Kindle or Kobo as an ebook. But the paperback is pretty beautiful. We spent a lot of time designing the graphics inside of it. But look, it takes you through a journey to help you unplug and make space and really experience a better life as a busy working professional leader entrepreneur. So it's not written for people who aren't busy. It's written for people like myself and yourselves who use technology all the time and are almost always connected. It takes you on a journey to change your paradigm, so your mindset and relationship with technology, to help you understand all the different factors that cause us to become so addicted to our devices. And I'm not so much focused on the design itself of technology. It's more, how do the stories we tell ourselves, how does neuroplasticity and our brain change with digital overuse practice? How does the power within our tools impact us? How do the loves and longings of our heart cause us to worship our devices? That kind of stuff. And once you change your paradigm, we move to the principles. And the principles are the principles of living well outside of a screen that we need to recapture. So principles like setting limits on technology, creating patterns in our life where we're living unplugged, where we're focusing on deep connective relationships, silence and solitude, and practicing rest in a really meaningful and specific way. And then the final part of the book is about the practices. So very specifically, how do you start and end your day without the phone by plugging your devices somewhere else, or charging them somewhere else? Or how might you have a digital free meal once a day with your children to help them with their learning? The research in that space is incredible, and it's so simple. I even give you questions to ask. It's like a how-to guide to unplug regularly. How might you have a digital Sabbath where you have a full day once a week without your phone, without checking email, without scanning social media, so that you can actually enjoy the beauty of life away from a screen? How might you book your holidays before you book your rest? And how might you shape your vacations in a way that actually become more restful rather than frantic, exhausting events running from place to place? So there are 7 practices and a whole lot of specific ideas to really help you make space and return to that productive middle to be your best self in work and also in life.
Love it. Love it. Love it. We have a question from our VIP sponsor, Miss Nikki Brown, in the audience. Thank you for your sponsorship. We appreciate you supporting the show. It helps us continue to get great, amazing guests like Mr. Sih. She asked, her first question is, how do we as parents turn things around for our children by limiting screen time. So it sounds to me we've made the mistake. We've already crossed over. We've gone over to the realm of we've already given our children access to technology. What tips can we potentially turn this around?
Yeah, and there's lots of great tips I can give you. I mean, the hardest one I'll give you is the one that begins with yourself. And when I run parenting courses, and I do run some digital courses online, my first message, and it's the same message as in my book, that before you can turn your children's habits around, you need to look at your own heart and your own habits and your own relationship with the screen. Because if you're like me, and if you're like most parents, Nikki, then there's probably times when you're acting a little bit like your children, and it's very hard to say to your tween or your teenager, hey, get off the phone and stop being on the screen all the time, when the last thing you do is be on a screen, and when you're constantly looking at likes, and when you're always on email for work, but you can't communicate very clearly why you're doing those habits. So I think start with yourself, because if you don't change your own habits, then it's hard to lead your children. But the second thing I would say is try to broaden their experiences of life. And this is, again, hard for parents because we use screens as kind of pacifiers, or we use screens when we're busy at work and when we have no energy. But try to give your children experiences of life that are joyful and fun and wholesome away from a screen, whether that be go for a walk without phones and enjoy the walking, or take them to the beach, or I don't know, ride bikes, or play board games, good old fashioned board games, and spend time with them. Eat lots of ice cream and do stuff that's fun as you live life away from a screen, so that you're teaching them what life can be like in a broad sense. And then the last thing I would say is we really like the token system, where our children have a certain amount of screen time, and we didn't want to say you can only do a screen here or there. We wanted to give them a little bit of self-control, or a little bit of self-determination. But our children get, at the moment, they get 8 30-minute tokens. So 8 tokens worth half an hour of screen time. And they can use that during the week. They get their tokens on Saturday. So if they want to do 2 hours or even 2.5 hours, that's our maximum in a day because of the research. But if they want to do 2 or 2.5 hours and use all their tokens in 1 or 2 days, well, then that's up to them. But then it's almost like budgeting. They have to learn that they either need to do jobs to get more screen time, if we decide that that's okay, or they have to realize, actually, I need to scatter my screen time through the week. And I've found that quite helpful. The downside is that they consider the tokens for screens more important and more valuable than money. But at the same time, they already were obsessed with their screens. And so it gives us the ability to set limits, but also give them the ability to control and shape how they choose to use that finite amount of time on a screen. But that has to be coupled, again, with you changing your habits and modeling better behaviors and investing in them when they're not on a screen, so that you're learning as a family to actually do stuff that isn't just online. There's no easy solution, and I feel for you. I wrestle with this with my own family. I don't have the perfect family, and I'm learning to journey this technological journey with my children, just like you. So thanks for the question.
I have the perfect family. I do. No, great question, Miss Brown. Thank you for the incredible question. Mr. Sih, I wanted to follow up. You mentioned this earlier. You touched on it, but I think it's too important to pass over. You mentioned the digital Sabbath, and you structure that. You recommend that to clients. Can you break that down just a little bit more? Why does it matter? And what is the digital Sabbath, and how do you practice it? What's the best practices that you've seen work well?
Yeah, so look, I'm a man of faith. So I come from this from a faith or spiritual perspective, that God created Sabbath. He made us to rest. He worked for 6 days, and on the seventh he rested. And as a result of that, the first day where Adam and Eve were on earth, they rested. And so there's this sense where we are made to rest, and there's this pattern embedded in creation, in the world around us, where if we rest first and then shape our work from a place of rest, it's entirely different than if we actually just go, and then crash and are exhausted. So for me, a digital Sabbath is the recognition that we need a day of rest every week. But in the digital world, it's very hard to learn how to rest, because for me, I'm on a screen constantly. I mean, my entire business is online, and I'm always doing this type of stuff in terms of communicating through a screen. But what I realized is, when I had my so-called day off, I was then watching Netflix and playing games and still scrolling my news feed. And from a neurological point of view, from a brain point of view, the brain can't tell the difference between me scrolling the internet for work and me scrolling the internet for fun. And I realized that actually, if I was to be obedient to what I believe God has called us to, which is to have a day off for our humanity, to love Him and love others, well, then I needed to think about what it might mean to actually stop working. And the only way I know how to stop working is to turn off my devices and not use the internet for a day a week. And so every Friday evening, this is what I do. I don't care what day you choose, but and I don't do this because I'm Jewish. I just simply do it because it works. But on a Friday evening, when we have our meal, we turn off our devices. I put my devices away, and for the next 24 hours until Saturday night, I don't check my phone. Maybe I'll open my phone up at like 11 o'clock on a Saturday and just see if there's any text messages, just in case. Sometimes if I'm bushwalking with my children, I'll put the phone in my bag turned off, just in case I need to ring someone in an emergency. So I'm not religious about it in that sense, but basically I have this beautiful day where I'm unplugged, and I just love it. And I focus all my activities and our activities as a family around rest and remembrance. So we rest, meaning that we find activities that are truly restful for us, that aren't online. So that's board games and eating bacon and eggs as a family. It involves sleeping in sometimes, or napping in the day, reading physical books. I go mountain bike riding. I love chainsawing wood. I've got property, and I find chainsawing is restful for me, because I don't chainsaw. I don't do physical work, manual labor when I'm working. So physical activity for me is rest, and being on a screen and typing and swiping is work. And so what we're doing is we're designing a day of our life where we are deeply resting, and where we walk away from that Sabbath rest alive and full, both spiritually, relationally, and mentally, and ready to go to work hard and to transform the world as an entrepreneur again. So it needs planning. I think it's the hardest of all the habits. I have the longest chapter in my book in this, in Space Maker, is about how to actually plan it. So how might you design it? How might you clean the house before you have Sabbath so you can rest? How might you create a ritual to flip from work mode to rest mode? How might you negotiate the challenges of unplugging from tech? How might you work out what work is and what rest is? So it's like a how-to guide, and you can also get it for free, a lot of it on my website as well. But to plan a digital Sabbath is life-changing, and it will absolutely change the way you work. Walter Brueggemann said, those who have a day off live every other day differently. And I've certainly seen that in my life.
Daniel Sih, y'all. Sir, this has been phenomenal. This is absolutely rock star material, and you I see, without even reading the book, without flipping the book, I see why it's an award-winning bestseller. Any final words? We gotta let him go, y'all. Any final words? If you could pass on just one message to the people, that young boy, that young girl out in the audience, what would it be? What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, if you feel overwhelmed by this, if you feel like you have no space, that you're running to stand still, and that you're always distracted, don't walk away feeling condemned or feeling guilty. I would just say, just do one small thing. This is like the physiotherapist in me saying, just walk to the end of the driveway, and that's the best place to start getting fit, So how about you just charge your phone outside of your bedroom this evening, and don't start with your phone first thing in the morning? Or how about you put your phones away and just have a meal together this evening, without having your phones distract you. Just a tiny bit of space can open up your world and give you the capacity and the resilience to take the next step. And I just encourage you can do this. A little bit of space and it will transform your life. Invest in being offline and being fully human, and you can do this. So yeah, good luck.
How can we connect with you? How can we learn more?
Yeah, I'd love you to check out my website. So I'm at Spacemakers, plural, spacemakers.com.au. Oh, there you are. You've got it on the website, on the video. I'd love you to grab my book and write an Amazon review if you like it. It would be really helpful to help other people know about the book. And you can download free digital Sabbath worksheets and videos to help you plan this if you're not quite sure about grabbing the book itself. And again, that's all available at my website, spacemakers.com.au. Follow the book links and you'll see the free chapters. So it'd be great to hear from you.
Sir, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to give back. Check out the book at Amazon. Get your copy today and make space, make time for what's truly important, right? Because or else you'll miss out on some of the most beautiful and the best things in life. Thank you, Mr. Sih. We appreciate you. I hope this message helps you guys. I hope this helps you take it to the next level. And I want to say this to you, sir. Don't ever quit. We need you. We need what you're doing and the information that you're sharing. It is that crucial. So thank you.
Thank you for having me on this amazing show, Marcus. I love it. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And I thank you, my audience, for tuning in. This has been a rock star episode. I love it. I get pumped. I hope this message has served you and helps you realize that, COVID-19 was a tumultuous time, but we can't do this alone, and make sure that you set time apart for you and what's really important. Like I always end every show, take care of friends, take care of family, and always take care of business. This is Marcus Norman, your favorite gentleman, and Daniel Sih of Spacemakers University. Signing off. Love you guys.